All right. Hey, everybody. This is Clay Foreman and with Melissa Diaz on the Turtle Reads. We're here with Gene Selassie on the podcast today, talking about his book and how they rumbled. The best 80 matches in the last 40 years.
Yeah.
Really, really interesting read, especially for me. I'm a big action guy. It was kind of a weird read for me because I'd kind of know a little bit of wrestling moves and stuff like that. But I'd trying to picture the scenes in my head, and I'm like, okay, that move, and then I wouldn't know a move, so I'd have to look it up because I have to be able to picture it in my head.
That's exactly what I went through. Yeah. Where did you end up? I ended up on the Luchador wiki, and then I was just looking up
a bunch
shit.
of those
That
Luchador.
was probably the best place to look.
I was like, Luchador wiki, what is this? Irish throw, Irish. My wrestling move is Irish goodbye.
Nice.
Because I'm an introvert. All right, so I had to do that. Did you want to put an appendices in there, or do you have a companion book that you think would help? Do you know of any wrestling books that are just like the moves,
Or a term, something with all the terms, the different.
I don't know of books specifically, but I know there are several websites that you pick the right one, LuchaWiki. Essentially, I came to a decision right before I started typing out how much do I want to simplify this, and I felt that I tried to keep pace almost like a sports movie or action movie where I kept everyone invested, and I felt the more I slow down to have to explain things, the more it will probably take people out of each individual match. So I gave explanations to the more convoluted moves that even people who watch WWF may not, or WWE may not know. But for the most part, I tried to keep it moving. Boom, boom, boom.
Well, but I don't even know what a clothesline is. I don't even look that up. I'm very
like
basic.
I said, she's just learning about it now with the Andre the Giant when we did.
So I'm sure you probably looked up some YouTube videos on some of the moves.
I basically looked up YouTube videos on literally any match I could find. That's kind of what I ended up doing. But it was cool because, I don't know. Okay, I don't know about my brother was into wrestling, so it's not like I had no contact with it. But I did no interest. It just does not do it for me, right? So I never learned, and even now, and I've been trying lately. Ask Clay, I've been trying. We're even gonna do a wrestling sketch. That's how hard I've been trying. I'm like, let's do this. I want to understand the culture, right? So I'm looking at the interviews. I'm watching the matches. We read the Andre the Giant graphic novel biopic, and it was really good. But I liked the Andre the Giant biopic because I liked his personality. It was really compelling, and his story, right? So I know that that's kind of the through wrestling is you got to get into the stories, because I've been asking many nerds, and I was like, how do I do this? And they're like, you have to find one of the stories that you like and then stick to that, and then you'll get into it. And then one other thing, it still is impressive that they're doing all these aerial moves and the backflips, but it wasn't like that always.
Well, no, not in the United States. I would say back in the day, you had your Hulk Hogan's, your Andre the Giants, Bruno Sammartino, Bob Backlund's. It was more character oriented, where characters turned up to 10 almost to cartoonish levels. Whereas in other countries, you had in Mexico, Lucha Libre, where there's a lot of high flying that's done. You have your British World of Sport style wrestling, where it's grounded joint manipulation. I don't want to say it's like UFC grappling, but it can tend to be that way. Then you have your Japanese strong style, where wrestling, there's a way to throw a worked punch or a worked kick to where it looks like it hurt, but it doesn't. Japan, it's going to hurt even the work style, because they make it look as real as humanly possible. So all these different styles, wrestlers, I would say in the 2000s, especially the last generation or the first generation of where WWF was the only big televised thing in town. And if you didn't like WWF or WWE, you started watching the videos of all the overseas stuff. And the current generation of wrestlers who grew up in the 2000s and 2010s, they got influenced by the high flying stuff from Mexico, the hard hitting stuff from Japan. And you've seen that now in a lot of US wrestling matches. You're going to see those styles come out.
The Japan ones. I saw some of those frontier wrestling ones.
Oh God,
with the
frontier martial arts wrestling. Yeah,
there was one where it was one of the first. It was like one of the female fights where basically the ropes on the ring were barbed wire, but there were also explosives attached to them in certain intervals.
That was chapter one of my book.
And so like even if the fighting was fake, these chicks they were like shredded by the end of it, and they would suplex into the explosives, and I mean that was legitimately blowing up in their assholes. You know, they were just like, you know, and it was just like and then they're just trying to do a move, and it's like, oh my God, what the hell?
Well, I wanted to start the book with a bang, and what better way?
So I did notice that there was like a little bit, not more, but it was a good bit of Japanese. Would you say your favorite, like if you were to fly somewhere to see like one of the biggest shows in America or biggest show in Mexico, biggest show in Japan or biggest show in England, which one would you go for?
It's hard to decide. As you can see from the book, I like a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
But definitely a bucket list item is to go to the Tokyo Dome to watch Wrestle Kingdom, which is New Japan Pro Wrestling's it's their WrestleMania every January 4th. I'm going to go maybe next year, most likely the year after. One of those two, I am definitely going. Mm-hmm. I would like to go to Triple Mania, which is in Mexico, AAA's big show of the year as well.
Okay. So you just want to go to countries where you're the tallest man in the country?
Honestly, you'd be shocked. 6'2".
Yeah, you'll be like a giant over there
in Japan. For sure.
Tokyo. Tokyo.
You would think, but I've seen wrestlers coming up in Mexico and in Japan like easily 6 foot, 6'1", 6'2", 6'3".
Well, that's because they're eating dairy now. That's a generational thing.
They're doing something.
But the traditionalists,
right?
5'6". Awesome. Do they do unisex wrestling in Japan?
Not so much in Japan. In fact,
that's crazy because they have the least difference between male and female.
And
some of the female fights, I was like, are these dudes? What the hell's happening right now?
Well, they even had it where they were performed on separate shows completely, where you have, let's say, for example, Stardom, which is a women's promotion, which they was only women on the show, and then New Japan Pro Wrestling, which was only men on the show. It wasn't until the last couple of years where they started having show that have men versus men, women versus women matches. So they're getting with the times, I guess, because women's wrestling has gotten super popular, and I still think some companies are underestimating
boobs.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned that. It's just
look, as someone who doesn't have large boobs, I know the power of boobs. I've seen it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's weird because my book, you could tell the majority of the matches from like the mid 90s to about 2014 are Japan. It was when in the US they were not treating women's wrestling seriously. It was a lot of the divas, they were hiring like Playboy models and stuff that had no athletic background. And it wasn't until about 2013, 14 where the audience started pushing back. They wanted the women treated like athletes the same way the men were. And that's where things definitely improved.
Why are they so nice to these women? We want to see these women get beat the fuck up. Why are we not having domestic disputes on stage? What's happening over here?
Some of the most violent matches in that book are in the women's section.
Yeah. We were talking a little bit earlier about, and I kind of wanted to get on it because it's probably like the biggest news in wrestling right now. What is your take on the Vince McMahon whole thing?
I mean, are you even surprised, to be honest?
If I had a team of psychiatrists, but yeah, I don't want to say I predicted this, but that guy, let's just say chickens came home to roost. Nothing surprised me. And not saying rich people with fetishes get away with stuff forever and ever, but he got away with stuff for decades. And
fetishes? What fetishes?
I'm not going to go into
What is it? Let's go
the
into
stuff
it.
Well, I
that
mean-
came out in the case.
I mean, with what the storylines he kind of pushed, like how Dylan was talking about, he had the whole storyline where his daughter got pregnant and he brought it to the executives of being like, hey, let's make the storyline that I got my daughter pregnant.
And she, reportedly, Steph McMahon shot that down immediately.
Yeah.
I mean, that's so obviously cocaine, though. Like you know cocaine when you hear it. You know what I mean? They're just like, all right, I'm gonna get my daughter pregnant.
Yeah.
All right, guys,
geez.
this is gonna be amazing.
Is
Okay, it's gonna
it
shock
just-
everybody.
Just cocaine?
I bet it's mostly. I mean, wasn't it? Yeah, maybe
Cocaine,
Quaaludes.
a lot of steroids. That dude is
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
and there's
fucking-
steroids.
And him being the psychotic workaholic, like, dude, 70 something years old, still waking up at 2 a.m. to go hit the weights. Like,
If you look at human history, like some of the craziest parts of it, you read into it. Half the time it's drugs. There's
Yeah.
something happening with drugs. Like they just discovered coca leaves and like let's put it in soda. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the Nazis were heavy on meth.
Yeah, they got methamphetamines. I mean, come on, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. The paranoia that you get from that all over, right? It's like there's Jews under the bed. I know it. You know?
Oh, God.
What do you think of The Rock taking over promotion? He's like the owner of which one now? AEW or
Cool.
WWE. Well, he's part of TKO Holdings, who's the parent company that owns WWE and UFC now.
Yeah.
I see a lot of it as damage control to try to take attention away from the Vince scandal,
Oh.
but also what people are not talking about. And I have all the respect in the world for The Rock. He's doing damage control of his own brand after the crap that went down with Warner Brothers, where his production company tried to muscle in and like, we'll take over the DC universe of films and Black Adam massively underperformed.
Yeah.
And there was egg on his face after that. And everyone that has come out with stories about how he tried to muscle in. And I don't know if David Zaslav, the owner of WBD, sided with him or who he sided with, but yeah, Rock definitely did not. It wasn't a good look after that. So he's trying to rebound his own image as well.
Yeah, because I saw like at around the same time that he got part of TKO, he also got the XFL. Like he was trying to trying to change his whole brand to be like, oh, I'm a sports guy now.
Well, the XFL, like they brought it back, and just like last time, massively underperformed. They had to merge with the USFL.
You gotta give me some
XFL
context. Okay,
is-
pretend I'm sitting here. I got a helmet on my head.
Okay.
Okay, I'm eating cake. I'm wearing sweats.
XFL
What was it?
is-
2001, where Vince McMahon decided he wants to launch a football league to compete during the off season when NFL is not active, and it had its fans. They tried to do like
indoor. It's indoor football.
basically, and they
Yeah.
tried to do promos like pro wrestling style promos with guys on the mic, and it
Indoor
was
football?
entertaining for a couple of weeks, and it grew tiresome, and it went under. They brought it back right before the pandemic, if I'm
Yeah.
not mistaken, and The Rock bought it from Vince, and it just was not performing well because most people don't want to watch NFL or professional football all year round. So they decided, hey, we're going to sell, and they merged with the USFL. So it's now, I believe, the UFL,
Yeah, something like that.
something like that.
Yeah, part of the magic of football is anticipating the season starting, and everybody getting ready, and all the merch and
And then the
everything.
build up of the season to the Super Bowl, and it's like, they have a whole thing built already. The whole structure of that sport is already set, and it's like,
August through January.
Yeah.
August through January. And I'm a diehard. I can watch basketball all year round. That's my favorite sport besides pro wrestling. Football, the fall into the winter, and I'm good. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I like
Yeah.
watching birds.
she's
Very relaxing.
Yeah.
Very relaxing.
Not really. You know, birds, I mean, when they're chirping and stuff, what they're actually saying is like, hey, yeah? You want to fuck? Right? And then they're going, don't come in this bush, I'll kill you. Right? And
It's
they're just like, tweet, 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 tweet. That's,
like
that's what
that's-
birds are actually saying.
Yeah, that skit on Animaniacs with the birds that were like
Oh,
the
yeah.
Goodfellas.
Mm-hmm.
That
Yeah.
skit still cracks me up to this
Yeah.
day.
Hello, what am I, like a clown? Like here to amuse you? Yeah, that's it. And then
Go
they
get
fight.
your shine box.
Yeah. What's funny is that I think a lot of kids watching it didn't even know about Joe Pesci, and it was still funny. It just didn't. It was kind of like when Looney Tunes was being shown like decades after, and nobody knew who these people were that they were making fun of. Laurel and Hardy.
Yeah,
nobody knew.
It had the jokes that would make the kids laugh, but that like read in between the lines, and the adults can get the humor as well.
Yeah,
they would make references that then would become their own, be their own references in general. Like Bugs Bunny doing the carrot with the cigar with the carrot. Groucho Marx, and then rabbits aren't even supposed to eat carrots, but now we associate carrots with rabbits.
Oh my God, is that true?
Yes.
Oh my God, people have been killing rabbits just like
it does do damage to their digestive
system.
Wow.
The rabbit's like.
I saw a thing on that, and it's like all because of Bugs Bunny and Groucho Marx.
Dude, people are so stupid. We're so dumb.
Dang it, Groucho.
Just constantly doing dumb shit.
Well, that's society in general.
Yeah.
So yeah, what would you say would be like? Because I know you have him ranked as the best and stuff, and you were talking about a guy who was like arguing with you at a Comic-Con about like which ones you said is the best.
Oh, geez.
What would you say was the most influential match that you could say, like the one that changed wrestling the most?
For me personally, or for the business?
For the business.
Okay.
Or both.
Well, I can go with the top three that really pulled me in, because my parents weren't into it. My grandparents weren't into it. I had an uncle that was into it. I saw him occasionally. And there were three matches that really stood out to me. Back in the 80s, before all of them were televised nationally, where you lived in the country dictated what you got to watch.
Yeah.
I grew up in New York, so it was mainly WWF. Even as a kid, I wasn't a fan of like the Hulk Hogan cartoon characters and stuff. But who became my favorite wrestler, Bret Hart. I saw a match with Bret and Jim the Anvil Neidhart against the British Bulldogs, and totally turned my entire perception of WWF.
Why?
Bret
bring us back to that
treats
moment.
Bret
what
Hart.
were you wearing? Were you eating cereal? Were you wearing socks and underwear?
Yes, and probably lots and lots of cereal. I was the kid that would mix like 2 or 3 different kinds. Try to find
the best
combinations.
Dude.
Golden Grams and honeycomb.
I was just gonna ask you that.
Try it.
Yeah.
I hate them individually,
Golden
but
Graham
when
and
you
honeycomb.
combine them, it's magic.
That's amazing. You heard that, guys, here at the Turtle Reads.
Right.
So you're eating your combo.
Something about Bret Hart matches where I know a lot of wrestlers say he took the business way too seriously for a staged sport, but he treated it like a real sport, and you could see it in his matches. And I'm not going to say it looked like a UFC fight. It just looked like it did not look choreographed. It did not look staged. It didn't look hokey. And we're going on 35 years. He's been my favorite wrestler. Another match, Ric Flair versus Ricky Dragon Steamboat.
Yeah. I saw that one. I watched that one.
WCW. God, Ric Flair, the big gold belt. I've never fallen in love with a prop so much as the WCW or the NWA World Heavyweight Championship. That thing looks like it should be in Fort Knox. It's like gotta be worth thousands upon thousands of dollars.
Hey, is Ric Flair supposed to be a heel or what?
He tries to be, but this is my take on it. Once a wrestler is over 50 and are essentially a Hall of Famer, no crowd is going to want to boo him. He could do the most dastardly, heinous crap. The crowd's not going to boo him once they get to that age.
Yeah, especially like Ric Flair, someone who's so well known. He'd come out and do some horrible shit. The second he goes, woo! And the whole audience is with him and going woo too. Like it's not.
And once again, is not to take away from any of the heinous stuff that he has done.
Him too? I'm telling you, man, that cocaine is a hell of a drug.
You need to definitely watch Dark Side of the Ring. Oh gosh. I mean, it was definitely the worst kept secret, the plane ride from hell.
Wow,
what's that?
I'm not sure about. I don't
look it up.
It's plane ride from hell. Is that when you're trying to get to Epstein Island, but then you go to the wrong one?
Oh, jeez.
Big disappointment all around.
Oh gosh, this got dark. This got very dark.
Well, we just started. What are you talking about? It's gonna get worse. What? I'm just testing the waters with you. I'm just trying to see. The
business has its its share of black eyes, several black eyes, scars.
What's the plane ride from
wounds.
hell though?
This was in the early 2000s. This was Flair. I don't want to say tail end of his career when he retired in 2008. So this would have been 2002 or 3. Apparently it started with 2 wrestlers engaging in not a physical real altercation, but they were play wrestling and it turned into real wrestling. Then you had
On the plane?
Yes, heavy alcohol drinking by another group. And then I don't know if there were drugs involved,
Okay.
but at one point you had Ric Flair exposing himself to one of the flight attendants, and
He's like, hey, do you think I should get this checked out?
it was.
And this is a private plane with just the wrestlers on it?
I
Or?
believe so.
Okay,
yes.
I was like, I'm imagining Ric Flair like naked walking down the aisle of a commercial jet.
Gosh.
No, I can't do that. That'd be hilarious, but
That
no.
would be funny.
The rumor was that they tried to silence some of the people who work for the crew to keep everything under wraps, but it's like there's only so much you can try to cover up.
Yeah.
And it's kind of colored my view of a lot of these guys, and especially I'm in a believe the woman like state of mind, so I'm not going to defend my childhood heroes when they act like complete tool bags.
Dildos?
Yeah.
Yeah, but you could believe the woman, but you could also believe the guy that he didn't intend to just be a rapey, creepy guy, right?
I mean, I hope for the best, but I prepare for the worst.
Have you ever done cocaine?
Me, no.
Yeah, that's why you don't know. That's what I'm telling you, man. I've seen people. Okay, that shit it makes you crazy. It makes you just like hyper aggressive, right?
Hey, Rick James
And
said it's a hell of a
extremely
drug.
focused. Well, that's why. Yeah, that's why it's good for finance. You know what I mean? The only people who should be doing cocaine are people that work in finance to make this great country, continue its economic activity.
And
at a good pace.
Quaaludes.
And Quaaludes,
That's
yeah.
what the Wolf of Wall Street taught me.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, give it to the psychos, right? And then just have them and make them go make money, And they're like, rah, 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 rah. They're just fucking making options and doing day trading and shit, and everything's great there. And keep it away from wrestlers and shit, and people that are going to be around scantily clad ladies.
Yeah, if you're doing anything physical, let's keep the uppers away from you, and then give them to the people who are trying to do thinking like accountant jobs.
Yeah,
we'll give.
Well, that's what we're trying. Isn't that kind of what society's trying to do with Adderall, right? And and what's the downer version of that? Oxys,
Xanax.
right?
Yeah.
With Xanax, right?
Yeah.
That we're trying to redistribute the drugs and lower the intensity so that everybody gets a little taste, just not too much, not to where you're just drooling on some lady's tits, just enough for you to get your work done.
Wow.
Go home to your family and shut up.
My God. This took quite. No, I'm just. We
You're
took
a little red in the
a right turn, and then a left turn, and then another right turn. And I'm like,
You just described me driving.
it's like I don't know what part of town I'm in, but I'm morbidly curious.
Yes, that's exactly how I drive. I end up in neighborhoods. I'm like, let me get out and try tacos. Let's see what's going on over here. All right. So this plane ride from hell, I don't know. I think, you shouldn't slack off on holding people accountable. I think also though that, a little bit of context and understanding and a little bit of empathy, I think, is good all around.
Yes,
and I
yes.
don't think people should just have their lives just utterly decimated. I think
No,
they should
that's fair. That's definitely
there
fair.
should be justice.
Exactly.
Yeah, there should not be, like mob justice. Right?
No. I definitely don't believe in mob justice.
Yeah.
But I'm of the mindset that rich folks should have to pay the same consequences that everyone else does.
Well,
and
that's the rule of
until
law.
we get to that point, I still don't quite feel that we're there. because you can buy the best lawyers, you can buy the best PR people, and have stuff swept under the rug. Once,
well, we get away with shit too, right? You can not pay your taxes. You know, I don't even know when the last time I paid my taxes. Honestly, I don't even know. I'll say it. I'll go on record.
Hey,
I don't know.
they came for Wesley Snipes. They'll come for anyone.
They don't give a hell about me.
You know, if they come for Blade, they don't care.
Listen, I've already had plenty of practice avoiding Jehovah's Witnesses. I know how to
I would
handle
like
people
to say
knocking
for the
on my
IRS,
door.
I have always paid my taxes. Thank you.
I'll always pay mine.
I mean, I pay it, just not on purpose.
There
you know? It's like, yeah, I'll do
It's
it.
like force of habit.
Yeah,
I guess.
exactly. But I'm not going out of my way.
And I feel like with the Plane Ride from Hell, some of it, because you said it was like a little bit later in Ric Flair's career, some of that like craziness, I think not only is it contributed to by drugs, but also a lot of these dudes have like CTE bad. Like,
What's that? Complex trauma? What was
yeah,
it? Okay.
CTE.
Oh,
Like,
yeah, and fucked up childhoods and
and
stuff.
And
fucked
the
up
business
childhoods.
didn't, and they tried to act like we didn't know what concussions were in the 80s and 90s. I'm guilty of it. One of my favorite wrestling promotions was ECW in the 90s. Extreme, way more violent than some of the other televised wrestling. And other companies got influenced by ECW, whether they admit it or not. And one of the things that going back and watching that now, the unprotected chair shots to the head.
Yep.
Like the rule is get a hand up when you're about to take a shot. They wanted to make it look more intense by not blocking those shots. I can imagine the trauma, the brain damage that was done from like 1993 to 99.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and come on, think about that. Now put that in the context of the Plane Ride from Hell, right? They're on coke, they're drinking. Make them people with Down syndrome instead of people, you know what I mean? Like, and they're walking around, they're showing their dick to the, you know, like, would you know what I mean? Like, would you be as mad, or would you be kind of like, okay,
A little
all right.
forgiving.
Let's not do that again. You know, let's not make that happen again.
Yeah, I mean, it shows. I don't know how much you know. I've always been interested about the story. I was watching it around the time that it happened. Probably one of the most tragic stories within all of wrestling. Chris Benoit.
That era.
What's that?
Chris Benoit was a wrestler back in the day. He did murder suicide his family.
Yeah, this was
really?
2000, 2007, I believe.
Okay.
I remember it was it became a witch hunt to take down the company because the wrestlers taking enhancement drugs and all of this stuff. They conveniently wanted to leave out CTE, brain damage. I think they said the autopsy showed that Benoit, who was 40 at the time,
he wasn't even that.
He had the brain of a 68-year-old due to all of the damage and those chair shots. Even something simple as taking a flat back bump, like the first thing you learn in wrestling school, over and over and over the years, and then him doing headbutts from the top rope, where you're either going to hit the mat or your head's going to collide with someone's shoulder over and over and over throughout the years. That's going to cause long-term damage.
Yeah.
Right.
And that was heartbreaking because Benoit was in my top 5 all-time wrestlers. It's hard for me. He featured in a few of the matches in the book, and I had to weigh in on, do I want to even have him in my book? But then I'm like, it's punishing the other wrestler that was in the ring with him for that match by doing so. But being honest, it's hard for me to even go back and watch matches with him now after that incident.
But isn't it based a lot on that head trauma and all that stuff, and probably even some stuff that we don't even know about, right?
Exactly. And that...
So it's not exactly the patriarchy. This is more complex.
Exactly. And also, he went through a serious 2 years bout of depression because of what happened to Eddie Guerrero. When they were best friends, they came up in the business together. And when Eddie wound up dead, when was that, December 2005? Chris was never the same.
Yeah.
Everyone backstage said he was like a completely different person after
What happened to Eddie
that.
Guerrero?
That one, he was found dead and in his hotel room. Eddie was on painkillers because that's another thing that a lot of wrestlers during that era, and those two, that and the Benoit thing back to back, kind of made WWE clean up and actually enforce their wellness policy. And Eddie one hurt me a bit as well because he's somebody I met quite a few times. I lived near Tampa, Florida, and ran into him so many out and about, like with his family and whatnot. And remember one time at a mall, he had a hoodie on, had a hat. He was definitely trying to keep low key. Walked up to him. I said, "Hey, I met you at a show a few times. I'm not going to blow up the spot. I just want to say thank you for everything you've done for the business." And I was just going to walk on. He invited me to chat. We chat for about 40 minutes while his family was going in different stores. He's just such a generous soul. And I can see why him passing away hurt so many of the other people in the business.
Yeah. What part of New York did you grow up in?
Bronx.
Me too. Okay, sweet.
No way.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing is, like, wrestling kind of reminds me of a lot of people in the Bronx, a lot of community. It's the same kind of stuff going on. It's just that nobody's making any money on top of it. You know what I mean? They're just
and it's not always
bullshit.
Televised.
Yeah, none of it's televised. Well, sometimes, if it gets really crazy, right?
Yeah.
But it's just like all kinds of crazy shit is happening, right? And also a lot of head trauma.
Oh, jeez.
Many different kinds of head trauma also are happening. People getting thrown downstairs and shit, right? And it's like, I think wrestling, in that sense, I can understand a lot of the violence and the murder-suicides and the things and the this and the that, because that's just, those people are coming from those kind of communities in the first place, right? So, of course, if they come together, it's just kind of going to be a little bit more of the same.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit better because they have more wealth and shit, right? But it's, it's kind of, that kind of situation, I don't know, it's like, I'm not going to be like, this toxic masculinity, this, that, because it's kind of, you ever see Soft White Underbelly?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's that. You know what I mean? Everybody got molested. You know what I mean? Everybody got molested. And now they're just taking it out on each other and just trying to figure it out and trying to get away from it and above it.
It's like we were supposed to have on a guest, Violent J.
Oh.
Yeah, ICP.
Yeah,
they're pretty adjacent to wrestling, right?
We read the biography, and he comes from horrible background. And yeah, it's what do you think of the Juggalo wrestling, Juggalo Championship Wrestling, all that? Do you think that's a good fit, like a good?
I mean, it seems like it is to me.
I know there are a lot of old school wrestling heads that hate either comedic aspects of pro wrestling or something that's
like the
does things in an
outlandish
alternate, the outlandish stuff. For example, I don't know if you watch AEW.
A little bit.
Orange Cassidy.
Yeah.
His gimmick pisses the old school guys.
I love it.
His whole thing, he's like the ultimate slacker.
Mm-hmm.
Like he walks down to the ring. He doesn't do the energetic high fives. He'll go, just tap, like lazily tap. He'll slowly roll into the ring in the middle of a match. He'll put his hands in his pockets and do the soft little kicks, whereas the crowd is selling it like he's kicking the crap. He does a little soft kick. Oh,
that's funny.
And then he winds back. Oh, and then a soft kick.
Oh, that's funny. I mean,
it's hilarious. And I find it funny. I'm okay with stuff like that at indie shows. When you're on national television, they tried to do that when AEW first started, and a lot of fans rejected. Like, some of this stuff needs to be tweaked a little bit for the masses, and he still does it, just not as often.
Yeah.
So I'm okay with anything of that nature, barring some of the over the top violent stuff, like something as simple as, I don't know if you've watched many Mick Foley matches.
Oh yeah,
the cactus elbow, the elbow drop off the apron to the floor. I wish wrestlers would stop doing that.
Why?
Every time you impact, it's your hip, and Mick Foley, if I'm not mistaken, his hip or his pelvis is permanently tilted.
Yeah.
Because of the constant drops to the floor. Certain moves that you wouldn't think would be no-nos, I wish they would stop doing the power bomb into the turnbuckle. I mean, how many people? Sting got put out of action for 3-4 years after that move because of neck injury.
That's horrible.
Yeah, it's because once you start doing a move like that, cactus elbow and stuff, it kind of it becomes like their signature move and stuff, and then they're doing it almost every night, or if not every other night, and it's that builds up over time.
And no, I don't want to be a person that's like, they should ban this move, they should ban that move, because pro wrestling is very weird where injuries can happen with the most random. Triple H, the quad 2002 or 2001, I'm sorry. It was him and Stone Cold were in a match against Benoit and Jericho that he just stepped into the ring. I guess he planted his foot wrong.
Ooh, ACL.
You could literally, the quadricep tear, you could see the muscle rolling up his thigh under his skin.
Yikes.
I can't even go back and watch.
That's traumatizing.
Yeah.
Or Sid Vicious back in WCW, where he did a move not even off the top rope, the second rope, and his leg just it was gross.
Crumpled?
Well, no, I mean,
did that accordion thing you see sometimes
Yeah,
online?
yeah.
It's crazy. It looks like an accordion.
Watch that one at your own peril.
I'll watch it. The only thing I don't watch are like ISIS behattings. That's just gratuitous. I don't know.
I don't know. I'm
saving myself.
I empathize with wrestlers and stuff I could watch in my 20s, be like, yeah. And now I'm like, because I have like 3 or 4 friends whose kids are getting into the business, and I just don't want them to suffer any of those crazy off the wall injuries.
Yeah.
What's your take on like what do they call it? Not cutting, but like
blading.
Blading.
Oh, yeah. That's when you secretly nick somebody so that they bleed.
Yeah, or you nick yourself. Like a lot of times they'll have the razor, and they'll, after a big move, they'll go hide in the corner, kind of nick themselves, and then slide the blade in their wrist tape or whatnot.
I'm surprised more bulimic cheerleaders aren't attracted to this sport.
I don't hate it. My issue is like WWE bans it. They consider it barbaric. I don't know if it's the company or stockholders, but they're okay with the hard way, where it's like, we're not going to do that. We're going to actually do something to you, like ram your head into something. Or there was a Brock Lesnar Randy Orton match where Brock dropped elbows on Randy's head over and over till he started bleeding. I'm like,
whoa.
So you're not okay with a razor nicking yourself, but you're okay with someone dropping 12 to 6 elbows on someone's head over and over. Make it make sense.
Yeah, it's like you want to go into surgery and you're like, leave the scalpel, just use this hammer.
Yeah, right?
Just cut into me with this.
Just get the chainsaw.
Yeah.
Get the chainsaw.
Get my tonsils out quick. Come on, let's do it. That's crazy. Damn. That's a lot of. Okay.
It's a lot of people who are not from wrestling backgrounds in positions of power. That's how it comes across to me.
You're probably right about that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So how in this community are you? Like, where you seem to be recognizable to many of these athletes, and so it seems like you're probably like in there and kind of like right in the periphery, right? Just hanging out. You've contributed.
I'm in the bubble.
Yeah.
Like as they say,
You've
like
done
the wrestling
taxes.
bubble.
Yeah.
I've lost count with how many wrestlers I've met, not just WWE, but from multiple different promotions. The most fun time was when I lived in Tampa, because that was known as the mecca of everyone who retired or everyone who was in the business would move to Tampa. One time ran into Test, rest in peace. Do you remember him from the 90s? Mm-hmm. Tall. I believe he was a roadie from Motley Crue, and ran into him at a nightclub. Wasn't the most pleasant fellow. I saw Chris Jericho at a supermarket one day, super early on a Sunday morning.
Nice.
I think he was buying cereal for one of his kids.
Did you lean in and go, "Hey, have you tried honey grams?"
No, I just shouted, "Watch the sugar content." He was like, "It's not for me, but thanks."
All right. Have you participated or volunteered at any of these events? You know, like have you?
Occasionally, way back when at indie shows, I would help put ring together and take it down after the show.
Have you ever gotten in the ring?
Not at an actual live event, at a wrestling school. This was in Tampa also, I believe 99 or 2000. Friend of mine was trying to get into the business, and they would not want us screwing around in the ring, but occasionally, you know, I'll take a corner, I'll take a turnbuckle. I'm just running the ropes. You would think is such a simple thing. I had welts on my ribs just because you have to know how to take that rope the right way. Because I mean, people forget those are steel freaking cables. Those are not ropes.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some of the injuries from ropes. I hate getting grim, but
okay.
Just look up. Rey Mysterio was actually in the ring with someone who passed accident.
Wait,
I think I remember. I forget.
Was it Perro Aguayo?
I think
if I'm not mistaken, but yeah, those ring ropes are not to be trifled with.
Yeah, Rey Mysterio. He was one of my favorite because high flyer and stuff, and he would do what was it, the 3-6?
Oh, 619.
619.
Yeah,
he would run at the rope. He would tie someone up in the rope and then run at the rope and then spin in it and kick the person in the face while they're tied to the rope.
Yeah,
it's wild move.
It's a super athletic move. I don't know how effective it is as a finishing move. Yeah, but I mean, for a small person, that would probably be a go-to move.
Yeah,
okay.
Rey Mysterio. He did whenever he was with the Big Show back in the day. That was one of my favorite tag teams because it was just
David and Goliath tag teams make me chuckle with laughter.
Yeah, that's what they're known as. Gay David and Goliath.
Well,
tag teams?
that wasn't. Well, that's what I refer to. Where you have one small guy in there to get the heat, get where the bad guys are beating them down. Wait to get that hot tag, then the big guy comes in and cleans house.
Yeah.
That's some of the most formulaic but still works type of storytelling.
That would have been a cool ending to David and Goliath. They become friends.
Teamed up.
Let's go kill the Argonauts. Come on, guys. What are we doing here?
Someone needs to write that.
Yeah. I'll do it.
So one question I thought of, if you had to make your ultimate 1-versus-1 and tag match with living or dead people.
Oh, damn. That's a tough one. Let's see. 1-on-1.
Will they still be dead in the ring?
It's
like a Weekend at Bernie's kind of deal?
Okay.
Mine for sure would, I would want to see Andre the Giant. Because I started watching like right after Andre the Giant died, a year after I was born. Oh, wow. And so like I got into it pretty early, wrestling. But and I would see stuff about Andre the Giant, maybe like catch like an old match of his or something, but I never really got to see him. So to me, him in his prime would have been fucking amazing. Right. And then probably like him versus my other favorite, Undertaker. Besides Sting and Undertaker are my two favorites. Nice. But Andre the Giant versus The Undertaker to me would be like a wild match.
Wow. Yes. The Undertaker, he had that good eyeliner, right? Yeah.
Yes.
So it was what I noted. I got a bang up job on that eyeliner.
Wow.
No, yeah. The Undertaker back whenever like his main thing, he'd get knocked down and he'd be laying on the mat and then just sit up.
The Jason Voorhees.
Just like horror movie style.
Yeah,
I
watched him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so fucking just on point.
I think The Undertaker was my brother's favorite. Yeah. When he was growing up, I'm pretty sure.
Let's see. Dream match. One would be Flair in his prime, like so late 70s, early 80s, against Kazuchika Okada, he just finished up his run with New Japan Pro Wrestling. He's my pick for possibly the greatest wrestler of the last decade, if not longer.
Okay.
He's just freaking phenomenal. That, and it's an odd match. Kenny Omega, who's probably the other greatest wrestler on earth right now, versus Booker T.
Oh,
that is the agility that both of those guys have. Yeah. They would tear the freaking house down.
Nice.
Tag team match. I would say right now, best team on the planet, FTR. They're with AEW.
Yeah.
I would love to see them go up against, and they're when they were with us, Art Bar and Eddie Guerrero.
Okay.
Like, God, the matches that they would have.
Nice.
All right. Hey, what about this kayfabe thing? Okay, this is from an outsider. This is important to me because it's the one thing standing in the way for me. Because I don't get why. I don't
pretending
get
it's
it.
still real.
Yeah, I don't. I do, but I don't. Like I said, I'm like, this is a lot of athleticism. You know, I don't underestimate that or whatever. You know, like I go to the gym, right? I know that it's not easy to do a lot of these things at all. You know, far from it. But that's the more impressive part. So why the fake fighting?
Kayfabe is an interesting thing. I'm in the fall right on the fence with this. I'm of the mindset, I'm not like some of the older wrestling pundits that like protect it at all costs. Like back in the day, people used to protect their characters to the point where wrestlers would go to grocery stores. In character.
Okay.
In character. One guy who was not really Russian, God, I forget his name, but he sold himself like a big Russian beast. He would go into grocery stores, pretend that he doesn't speak English.
But what happens when somebody actually
That's a great gimmick, though.
tries to speak Russian?
In fact, that's a good question.
What if he's in Sheepshead Bay? He's in Sheepshead Bay trying to get a croissant, right? And then and he's like, "Oh, hello, my name's Boris," right? And they're like, "Oh, that's vidanya," you know, and you don't have to speak. And he's just like, "Fuck you," you know. I don't have to put up with this shit, you know.
Or a more recent example, in the 90s, in ECW, Sandman, who was beer drinking, cigarette smoking, badass.
Is he vegan? Or is it,
I guess the storyline was he got hit with the kendo stick, but it caused the cigarette to bounce back in his eye, and he got blinded. However, he took it to the extreme where people would come to drop off stuff at his house. He would still sell the whole, like, not even on camera, but still selling it. And some of the old school people, like, we still need to take it to that degree. Honestly, you can't anymore. The
method acting.
Yeah.
Well, it's the same reason why method acting isn't a thing.
The toothpaste is out of the tube. You can't still pretend. However, why some of the independent, smaller promotions, I say some of that stuff can't work on camera. Whereas I don't want it defended like tooth and nail. I don't want it flaunted in my face that it's fake either.
Yeah.
You don't like that postmodern irony in entertainment? Yeah. You don't like that commentary on like meta commentary?
I enjoy going to shows like that. It's just on a national.
Nobody likes that. You don't have to pretend anymore.
It is proven. Anytime they do a lot of the quote outlaw mud show crap on national TV, eight times out of 10, it is not going to get over. The fans are going to be like, "This is stupid." There's a time and place for it, not in the major promotions.
What's it called? Outlaw Mud Show?
Outlaw Mud Show stuff.
Stuff like backyard wrestling type stuff.
Sometimes I've heard like the ICP stuff was referred to as that. And I think they actually do know how to wrestle and wrestle well.
Yeah.
But once again, you can't satisfy the old school pundits no matter how much you try to respect the business. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. They're like, "Get off my lawn, ICP." What the heck?
I won't say it. I don't want to
say it.
No, I don't want to disparage.
This is the podcast to say whatever.
I
disparage everyone.
I respect everyone's contribution to the business, but you sounded exactly like one of those old man yells at clouds, and I'll just leave it at that.
Fuck that guy. I'll say it for you. I don't even know who that is. Tell me later.
Yes.
Hell yeah. All right. Cool. Do we have time for some more? Or I guess we got.
Yeah. When is your heart out? Like 3:30 or 3:20?
25. We have 3 more minutes.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it.
Cool.
So,
speed round or
sure. What out of all the wrestlers you ever seen? Like, what's your favorite like entrance? Favorite storyline? Favorite finisher?
Favorite storyline, honestly, was the Stone Cold Steve Austin Bret Hart double turn.
Oh, okay.
Double turns have been done, but not on that scale where you have a storyline with a clear-cut good guy, clear-cut bad guy, but the bad guy's starting to get super like nuclear level popularity, and the good guy the crowd is starting to turn on him. So that it said the WrestleMania 13 match between them was the official double turn, but it started happening weeks before. And Stone Cold was the most hated bad guy, and he became the most popular guy in the history of pro wrestling. Yes, surpassing Hulk Hogan.
Yeah.
The period, Hulk Hogan may have made more money over the course of the decades, but that period when Austin was on top from like 97 or 96 to 2003, his run.
Yeah.
No one in the history of wrestling during a 7-year period made more than Steve Austin did.
Yeah, Austin 316 t-shirt was the highest sold sports merch of all time.
I believe it.
That's just insane because mostly because he was the guy you wanted to drink with. He was the guy you wanted to have a beer with. Literally come in and just fucking
that period, the most popular people in wrestling, why WWE became the juggernaut it did. Stone Cold, Vince McMahon, The Rock.
Yeah.
You had the 3 most prolific names, and you had the greatest storyline, the blue collar, even though he was a millionaire, the blue collar like beer drinking guy fighting against the evil billionaire authority figure.
Yeah.
That was a storyline match made in heaven.
Can't go wrong with that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's your favorite finisher? Like, would it be something crazy high flying or something like
Just keep in mind, whatever you say, you got to explain it to me like I'm an idiot.
Okay.
I mean, for the fans, for the listeners.
So many good ones. I loved Bret Hart's sharpshooter, where it was a submission move where you'd be prone on the ground. He put his leg kind of in between yours, tie it up, flip you over onto your stomach, and pull back and back and back. So you have torque on your ankles, your knees, and your lower back. Mm-hmm. So it's like it's attacking so many body parts at once. So it in real life, I don't know if you would just lay there and take it, but there's a reason people tap out to that move and tap out fast. Another favorite of mine in my 20s, but I'm not the biggest fan of now because everyone does it. There's this thing called protecting finishers, and it's essentially where only a few people do it, or maybe just one person does it, and it's a finisher. When it's no longer protected, that means like half the roster's doing it. It's not a finisher. People kick out of it before the 3 count. The Canadian Destroyer.
I've never seen that.
Yeah.
Cue it up. It's a front flipping pile driver. It looks insane.
Yeah.
But it does not work without the cooperation of the person taking the move. So it's one of those. Oh, here we go. P.D. Williams. Yeah, TNA early.
Oh, nice.
Oh, wow.
It's a cool looking move, but it totally requires the help of the person.
Yeah, the other person literally has to jump up to accept it.
Yeah, and we have a lot of that in pro wrestling. That's where I kind of side with the curmudgeons. Too many moves nowadays that look choreographed and obviously require the help of the person taking the move, which kind of suspends the physical contest type mindset that you're in.
For sure. Yeah, it's whenever we're going to do those sketches, it's going to be a lot of that because, I kind of want to make it look a little bit ridiculous, like letting Melissa slam me. And it's like,
yeah, he's been messaging me all week. He's like, hey, how do you feel about getting hit over the head with a breakaway glass bong? I'm like, yeah, sure.
Or how about super kicking the bong into his face?
Okay, don't give him any ideas.
No, the bong is mine. She's going to Sweet Chin Music a book into my face.
Oh, nice.
She's a luchador librarian.
Yeah.
You should toss the book to him and he catches the book.
That's what I was saying.
And then boom, like Van Daminator style.
Do you want to choreograph this on Friday? You're welcome to, You seem like you got expertise.
Let me check my schedule.
Hell yeah. Wrestling director. Fuck yeah, dude.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Well, all right. I think it's about that time for your heart out. You got to get to that interview. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Thank you. I'm honored. This was super fun. And next book that comes out, I'd be awesome. It would be awesome if I could shoot this shit with you guys again.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah.
Awesome.
All right.
All right. Well, everybody, this has been me and Melissa on Turtle Reads with Gene, and we'll see y'all next time.
All right. Bye.
Peace.